Well, if the European split is anything to go off of, maybe you don't bless the rains down in Africa. It was a wet one for those guys, and a lot of problems that were discovered in a couple of these corners. I'm not going to say which ones, but not the ones you would expect. But they put on a hell of a show. Hello, everybody. My name is Nick Amon, and I want to welcome you to tonight's broadcast. No Charles this time, so it is a full day of solo casting from yours truly. Charles had something come up, so he was unfortunately not able to be here in the booth. But at the very least, we do have a broadcast going. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world. Glad to have you here. Kyalami circuit I myself find to be very enjoyable. And one that, I don't know, sometimes seems a little polarizing. Basically, you know, one corner, two corners maybe. For me, the corner I can't stand is the first one, because it's not really a turn, but according to literally everything, it is a corner, which is right now what Mariano Rodriguez is going through. That is considered turn one. Little fun fact for you. But we have got 33, or sorry, not 33. We have 35 drivers on the grid here tonight for North America. These guys showing up, proving why North America is the better region than EU. That's not me just throwing some shade. That's just straight facts. Shout out to EU. But now we've got 70 minutes ahead of us. 2 mandatory stops this evening. And looking at the practice times, Clifford just barely 100th quicker than Loverink, who is in P2. So I'm expecting a very solid battle from those guys as this race goes on. You see Rodriguez there in the top 5. Same with Thompson, who's only 7 thousandths ahead of Portis. We have seen, of course, the Honda struggling since the BOP changes back in 1.9. And some of these cars, of course, the newer Ferraris, the new Lambos, the new Porsches, have gotten a lot of love and a lot of attention. We're pushing here into qualifying. It is looking very nice out there. Nice and bright and sunny. Everybody's leaving the pits. And who else would it be first out but Jonathan Clifford? I'm going to apologize in advance. All the liveries did not sync properly. I did sync them before, so it was a little bit of a sidestep, if you will, going into tonight. Hopefully get that sorted out. But we got to go over some results while we wait for everyone to get out and get these flying laps going. So, of course, 2 weeks ago, Hungaroring, it was that back-to-back super sprint. That first race, though, Hutchinson ahead of Loverink and Rodriguez. Here, solid race. One thing I should probably mention before that I completely forgot was just now. You may have known last time out, I said, you know, drivers who are rated silver, still waiting to see their classification in the next round or two. However, after some internal discussion that I was not a part of, because I'm a commentator, we've gone ahead and we've actually made silver its own classification entirely. So before it was Pro, Pro-Am, Amateur, and then Silver was just there to be like, hey, you're here for a little bit, and we're going to move you around. But now we've gone with Pro, Silver, Pro-Am, and Amateur, so that fourth class has opened up. Found some drivers who were maybe a little too quick for Pro-Am, but not quite quick enough for Pro, and you know, obviously a little bit too slow for Pro, but a little too quick for Pro-Am. So it was a nice little middle ground. I know in the past I've talked about Pro-Am being the middle ground, but I think having Silver is probably a very good addition. So we'll see how the drivers tend to cope with it. And one thing they'll have to cope, or they won't have to cope with, is wet weather. All throughout EU qualifying, it was wet, it was rainy. The race started off just cloudy, but the threat of rain was on the way, and then very quickly it came in, and it just kept coming down more and more and more precipitation. And that just made a whole bunch of issues for these drivers. But back to the results, of course, Hutchinson, Lovering, Rodriguez overall in the silver class, Zampati, Wilson, Page in the Pro-Ams, Andreasen, Flores, and Frizza. And then for the amateurs, it was Good, L, and Hernandez Treister. Going into race number 2, again, Hutchinson on top. The new arrival here, the relatively new arrival here in North American Sprint, has really made a name for himself, going for what at that point was 3 wins in a row. Loverink and Clifford this time made it into the top 3 for the overall and pro category. For silvers, it was Wilson, Zampati, and Page, so just a little bit of a swap between 1 and 2 from those races. In the Pro-Ams, Brown topped the charts there with Andreasen and Savart getting onto the podium, and then it was Albacar, Good, and Mike rounding it down in amateur for that second race. And over to the standings, of course, Hutchinson leads it, 324 points, has a 66-point gap over Skylar Loverink, who has a 68-point gap over the man we've been following for the last little bit, Jonathan Clifford. Clifford with a $190 for his troubles so far. In the silver category, Zampati with 143 points, 17 points clear of Wilson, so that battle a lot closer. And Hunter Page with 100, so only 26 back from second place. We'll see if these gaps get bigger or smaller as the season goes on. And then down in Pro-Am, Rodriguez, 69 points, only 7 points separate himself from Flores And then Hall is 4 points at 58. So that Pro-Am category, those guys really giving us some solid competition. And then for the amateurs, Good has 11 points to spare between himself and L, who has 11 points between himself and Hernandez. And I know you say, oh, 11 points isn't that bad, but this is the amateur category, not to put them down or anything, but, you know, generally they're finishing lower back on the grid, so they're not getting as many points. So while, like I said, 11 points doesn't seem like a huge gap when you look at the point distribution based on where you finish, that's where the problems start. But here in qualifying, first 5 minutes are gone. Loverink is on pole position provisionally with a 1:41.38. That's half a second just about clear of this man right here, Paul Britt, and a new addition to North American Sprint, joining us, of course, from the land down under, from Australia. Glad to have him. Glad to have the roster of North American drivers grow. Currently P2, so he's looking to make a stand here. Another new driver, of course, is Ariel Perez from Argentina in the 28 Audi, who is down in 20th, was 19th just then, a 1:45.65 for that car right there. And then the last new driver is Lionel Di Giovanni, also from Argentina, in the Audi. So I don't know, maybe the Argentinians are working together to make the Audi the official car of that country. They both begin with A, so probably not that far off, but down 34th, hasn't set a time yet, but this is going to be the first flying lap, just at the out lap. But perfect conditions just about the track, of course, could be a little bit better up on the scale, currently fast, but these drivers would rather have optimum, but between this and maybe rain, I'm sure we'd all be taking fast in a heartbeat. Kenneth Portis into position 2 only. 38 thousandths behind Lovering. So, despite the Honda BOP, hasn't slowed him down at all. Kyalami, a track that this car seems very well suited for. Jonathan Clifford down P4. Paul Britt's in the pit trying to get some changes made to the setup. It goes Rodriguez, Thompson, Landry, Zampati, Brown, and Carpenter. Currently sitting inside the top 10 here in qualifying, and then it's Wilson, Andreasen, Rasco, Keogh, Page, Frizza, Sanchez, Parody, Rodriguez, and Flores. That is 11 to 20, and then there are going to be, 15 more drivers beyond that who are looking to sort themselves out. Jose Flores just talked about him. Look at that, in 22nd position. Rounding the final corner right now, has had a pretty solid lap, a second and a half up on the Delta as he crosses the line. So from 24th on the grid, he'll go straight to 10th. Barely ekes by Carpenter, 7 thousandths of a second between himself and the 883 McLaren. And just ahead of him is Hernandez. Hernandez currently sitting in 29th position. I think he bailed out of the lap there. Aldo Zampati from Argentina in the 69 McLaren. Coming through Cheetah right now. That was a very scary moment there for the Honda of Kenneth Portis. He had to really put on his best Neo moves to get around that one. And will cross the line. He will improve. Takes provisional pole. 1 1/4 tenths of a second. A 41.26. Of course, times here faster than EU. Rain has something to do with it. Oh, but in 10 minutes, we'll see some rain, but that is really not going to affect qualifying. It ends in 7 minutes, 40 seconds, so, well, if it starts raining, that's when the lap times are going to just be over and done with. Can't really improve once that moisture starts hitting the track. One driver I am searching for from Canada is Hutchinson, who has yet to, or he has set a lap, a 1:43. That has been a lap that has exceeded track limits. 7:26, looking to make it 4 in a row. Won the season opener, and then won both races at the Hungaroring. And looking to do it again. Now we, next week we'll be at the Nürburgring, Fortunately, not the fun part of it. We don't have that in this game, but the GP circuit will still be a very solid performance. So if Hutchinson can do it here, well, 4 in a row going into the next round would be massive. Really help out his lead a lot. Like I said, 66 points over Loverink. Loverink, though, is sitting top of the pile. Or no, sorry, second of the pile because it's Portis on top. Hopefully you guys are having a great day. If you caught the EU stream earlier, hopefully you enjoyed it. If not, well, it's going to be there. It's a VOD. You can always go back and check. And I did see a question earlier about what if you're not fast enough for amateur. That's called rookies, my friend. Perhaps it would be a place you stay in, which is a good place to start. That's where I started here with the Sprint Series. I started in rookies, and then I went into Sprint, and then I was like, all right, one season's enough. I want to be in the booth, and now I'm here, running the whole thing. So, who's to say that's not a glow up? But right now, Braden Thompson up into P5, a 10th past Rodriguez. Carpenter crosses the line, goes into the top 10 for the time being. We've got a long line of cars before we see any. Let's go down to Sanchez, and that is, well, you get right to the bottom, and that is about the time you see the amateurs pop up. Good, Parkinson, Hernandez, Santos, Doggins, Mike, and Barnett. Hutchinson right now, I think, just shot up the grid a little bit. No, he didn't. He's still trying to set a lap, so he was in the pits just now at 3:47. I am curious as to whether or not he's just going wide somewhere. I don't know what's going on. It's very unlike him to not set a lap this early. Although I may see a reason why he might not be on a valid lap. You can see how hard he's pushing it at some of these corners, Cheetah especially. That is going to be one of the corners we're going to watch. A lot of fatalities there to get it just wrong. Which is why I always encourage the Bentley here, because you can see it perfectly. And Hutchinson straight to pole position. A 140.92. It is 2/10. 2/10 over Portis just in one go. So he was just taking some time, loading up the cannon, and then decided it was a good time to fire. Just under 5 minutes to go here. Thompson pushes himself into the top 3. Love rank booted down a little bit. Same with Britt. Clifford, Rodriguez, Landry, Brown, and Carpenter. But 4 minutes to go here, and these times starting to sort of fall off a little bit, it looks like. There are some positive deltas. Andrew Wilson for the Purple Cobras, a driver we've seen a lot of this season. Currently 16th, goes up 13th, so just a few more positions for him to play with. Don't think he'd be too upset with that. And he still has a good few laps to go before checkered flag falls. Hutchinson's on an improvement. I know that's going to come as a massive surprise. But he is currently on another charge. We'll see just how far he can actually go by the end of this. Hayden Hernandez around that final corner. This should be enough to overtake Parkinson, but will it be enough to get around Good? It won't, because he goes wide, so he had a bit of an improvement. Actually would not have been enough, I don't think. So that's going to be a bit of a heartbreak for him. Let's check in here. Hutchinson has picked up 3/10 in just a few corners. Has he kept it inside the lines? That's the question. Crossing the line here, and it is going to count a 140.61. If you ever wanted to know what smurfing looked like in the OR, you have seen it here. This man on track for 4 in a row, but of course can't call anything yet. The race hasn't started. 70 minutes, 2 stops. Anything can happen. You get a bad pit stop, you just go in at the wrong time. Cold tires could catch you out. It happens all the time. Now, if it rains, that'll be another thing. Because right now it has been bone dry for practice. Same with quali. I would not put it past the rain gods here in the OR to give us some precipitation. Brian Rasco moves up a position from 18th to 17th, just swaps with Flores. And as for the improvements on the times, Mariano Rodriguez in the 85 Lambo is 7th position right now. Half a second, though, could put him quite a ways up the grid. Loses a 10th, crosses the line, 5th fastest. Thought for a moment he went over the line a little bit, but game was giving him the all clear. Clifford down in P7, had a very strong qualifying, so I'm surprised to see him this far down. But then again, Hutchinson wasn't here, so he gave everyone else a chance to have a bit of time in the sun. Spencer Brown, currently P9, goes to 8th. What can Clifford do? So he crosses the timing line into 5th, so that will put him there. Rodriguez goes down a spot. Starting to darken a little bit here at Kyalami, so the rain is coming in a minute 15. There's going to be drivers out there who are hoping that they can get this final lap in before the rain comes down. So we look around checking the times. There's a lot of even splits. There's a lot of 0.1s flashing. Clifford, Love Rank, both of them. Hutchinson, again, just out and about doing his thing in his lane. Just living life. When you get to the top, what can you do other than enjoy the view? So right now his view is a little over half a second to Portis. Portis, a driver again that we've seen a lot of here in the OR, very strong competitor, and to see him not really be at the top but still sticking with the Honda is very commendable. Brian Raskow, 15th right now, and that's going to do it for him. He's going to pull off to the side. He's decided that he's had enough, doesn't want to risk it. Hunter Page, currently down P20, decides that 14th is a nice place to sit. With 12 seconds to go, looks like we are going to be seeing another lap out of the Canadian. Spencer Brown, another improvement right now. Getting around that final set of corners. And this will be the checkered flag flying here at Kyalami for that qualifying session. Where can he go? The number 12 only stays in 8th position, but does open up a couple of tenths down to Carpenter. So that is going to be good. I just saw Hutchinson dive into the pit, so his lap over and done with. We're seeing Landry going into the top 10 at the line. Better late than never on that one. We should be seeing these last few cars coming in, either to the pit lane or across the timing line to end their qualifying. Hunter Page, again, still on that flying lap. And that's, oh, he's actually backing out of it, so that's the lap over and done with. There is really no big improvements. Ben Keogh has a 10th up on himself at the moment. Same with Jose Flores, only stays 19th. So what does Ben have? Can he get into the top 10? So he comes across, no, it's only 11th, misses out by a 10th of a second there. And I think that's going to do it for the most part. Chris Good is even with himself, crosses the line, stays in position 30. And the only drivers currently out right now, Austin Carpenter not improving, a 10th down on the Delta. So we don't think, no he doesn't. And ladies and gentlemen, somebody played Shaman, somebody did the rain dance. But only for the first few minutes. Very surprising. 30 minutes out from now, it is going to be nice and, well, cloudy. But for right now, the rain comes down. You can see as we head up to the grid to do the grid walk, you can see some of these drivers with the yellow Pirelli logos. That means they're on slicks. If you don't see that other, there it is, just switched over for Portis. That means there are no slick tires on that. Only wets for these guys. But we get ready for 70 minutes of action here at Kyalami. And of course, if you know me and you know how we do it here on my broadcast, we'd like to do a grid walk just to see what the liveries look like, and of course to go over your starting grid. 35 drivers have lined up here at Kyalami. Hutchinson on pole. Of course he's on pole. He's looking for win number 4, and this would be a very sweet place to do it. Portis, despite the Honda getting some nerfs, quote-unquote, here, has decided that it is still a very viable car, lining up second place. That it's going to be Love Rank, a very solid effort there, but enough for third. Paul Britt, of course, from Australia, first time out here in North America, makes it into the top 5, barely missed out on top 3, but certainly could be seeing a lot more action from him. And then Jonathan Clifford, despite a very strong practice performance, only manages 5th overall in quali. Of course, he is in the hunt for the overall and the Pro Championship, but with Hutchinson and Loverink in the way, that's going to be a very difficult task. It's Rodriguez in 6th, then it goes Thompson, Brown, Landry, and then Carpenter to get into the top 10. Going from there, Ben Keogh just missed out, saw like a 10th of a second there, so he'll be 11th. Andrew Wilson's going to keep him company there on 6th row. Then it goes Larry Lanham and Hunter Page, both drivers we've seen very solid performances out of, lining up 13 and 14th. Then it's Andreasen, Rasco, Rodriguez, Zampati, Flores, and Wicks. That is going to be your top 20, and then going into 21st position, Chris Frizza. You can see the Ferrari, the livery is all messed up. Big apologies to him, but whose livery isn't messed up? Eduardo Sanchez staying in the weed machine as always. Lionel Di Giovanni, the debutant from Argentina, has 23rd to his name. Then it goes Kevin Parody, a name who has had some familiarity here in the commentary booth, but is on the track today. And I just saw Andreasen get teleported to the pit, so not hitting drive. That's going to cause a lot of problems. Sergio Sanchez is 25th, and it's Keshawn Hall, Alan MacGyver, and the final debutant here, Ariel Perez, also from Argentina, going 28th. Hernandez and Good make it into that top 30, and then it goes Parkinson, Santos, Doggins, Barnett, and Mike to round out the 35 drivers on the grid here tonight. Of course, as we get ready for 70 minutes of action, we're going to give a quick shout out to Simrigs for sponsoring another season of the Sprint Series. These guys have been with us for a few seasons now. We're very happy to have them on board out of Melbourne, Australia, so you know it's going to be good. One of the biggest sim racing suppliers over in that country. If you happen to be from there, or maybe you're from New Zealand, well, shipping there is as easy as anything. But if you're like me and you live outside of that country, or the other small country right there with Kiwis on it, or any of our drivers here in North America, barring Paul Britt, well, if you send them an email, they'd be more than happy to do some business with you. Of course, if you're an OR Patreon member, you're getting 5% off your in-store purchases, so do take advantage of that. These things, for this hobby, not cheap. But again, thank you to Simrigs for sponsoring another season of the Sprint Series. We hope to see them again later on in the future. But on track, Hutchinson playing safety car right now. And the Porsche has really made this thing work. But he has 70 minutes and 2 pit stops that sit between himself and 4 wins in a row. And even though the rain has stopped, it'll return in 30 minutes. Now, will NA have the same fate befall them as did EU, where it was pretty steady, and then it increased, and then it increased some more, and then it increased some more, and then it decided to start dying off? That is a question only time will tell, and we should be getting some further answers as the weather widget advances on. But we are side by side right now. Down mine shaft. Ooh, you can see the shadows. The sun is peeking out, so this is going to be interesting. This will dry the track more, and with 35 cars, even more drying that takes place. Oh, there's also Wicks in the pit. Very surprising. And then not only that, you have an ambient temperature of 22 Celsius. 29 is the track temp. So we may be seeing a very early pit stop for slicks. And then another, depending on how long that rain sticks around, for how bad it is, we could be seeing another change onto wets, and then maybe there's another final extra pit stop. But ladies and gentlemen, around the final corner we go for the start of the 70-minute race at Kyalami. Hutchinson on pole. It's Portis, Loverink, Britt, and Clifford into the top 5. Rodriguez, Thompson, Brown, Landry, Carpenter. It could be anybody's game if Hutchinson has a bad start. But it's green, green, green here at Kyalami. And in the background, there's the BMW. Brown getting a pretty decent start. But the entire front-running 5 have gotten the jump perfectly. Down to turn number 2 we go. We're going to see a little bit of 3-wide action in the back as we head on through. It's going to be crucial to get that first corner right, and everybody does just that. Despite 30-plus cars, everybody seems to be playing quite nicely, and as I say that, we lose a Porsche, we lose a Ferrari. I didn't see who that was. I believe that was Frizza and maybe Flores going into the wall, so their starts have been disastrous already. But for that front-running 5, like I said, it's been a very good getaway. Hutchinson, the driver to look for He is starting to slowly pull that lead away from Loverink. In the background, we do see 3 wide. Off goes one of the Lamborghinis. I think that was Rodriguez in the dirt. It was. So he's going to fall down to 14th from 7th. Up ahead, there is the Lambo of that looks to be Hunter Page, who had just a peek on the inside of the 91 of Wilson, but has decided against it. It's a very late braking from the 85. Clips one Lamborghini, goes into the McLaren. And there is chaos. Wilson's off as well, so Wilson somehow getting caught in that despite looking like he was rather clear from the scene. That is not going to do him any favors. Eduardo Sanchez down mineshaft in towards Crocodile. One of the corners I can just never get right. You can still see some of the dampness on the track being kicked up into the windshield as one of the BMWs runs wide. Up ahead, the 126 there of Hall takes some damage, but into Cheetah we go. This is one of the most treacherous corners on this circuit. A very interesting line there from the Aston Martin, but does keep it together quite nicely. And diving to the inside, still the BMW holds. And we're going to have a 3-way fight, it looks like, over the start-finish line to start the next lap. Eduardo Sanchez sitting in P18. The 502 of Lanham's right there. The 126 of Hall just now entering frame as we head down to turn number 2. The inside line is going to be taken by the BMW. Sanchez is going to try to throw it around the outside. Up ahead, it is one of the Porsches. I believe that was Rodriguez going wide. There's some contact there between the two cars. Some more side-by-side action in the background. Ariel Perez is caught up, is actually moving pretty high right now compared to where they started at the beginning of this race. There's a 74 Frizza, one of the drivers we did see get caught there at the start, is sitting in position 23 as we head into sunset. Has a lot of work to do if he wants to make up all that lost time. Again, 70 minutes, 2 mandatory stops, very possible, but a very tricky strategy to have at this stage of the game. As this race develops, of course, we will be seeing when these drivers do come in. Keep in mind, 30 minutes, that rain is going to come back. Will we be seeing drivers dive into the pit lane? And keep in mind, because of the conditions at the start, as we were on the grid, it was, well, people were going onto the wets, so there's still going to be a lot of drivers on the wets. As Flores, I don't know if that's really a dive, that might just be because of the tires getting onto a pseudo-dry line, but that is going to affect the performance of these wet tires. They're going to be far above temperature the more they sit on the dry line, so we're going to be seeing drivers who were on the wets at the start going online through the corners and then onto straightaways. They're going to be going off to the side. And speaking of going off, that was Santos, who is on the wet tires. I think we may be seeing an early pit stop. Those Pirellis just not grabbing any bit of road. It's impossible. Into the pit lanes. That's, let's see, Sanchez goes in. The Aston Martin of Parkinson goes in. The pit window does not open for another minute, so these are not going to count. These will not count towards your mandatory stops. Parity goes in. I saw Doggins in. Barnett's in. So 5 drivers already deciding that the wet tires need to go now. They'll take the hit. The track goes greasy. I think that this pit lane is going to be getting very active as these drivers come back around. Rasco with a huge touch on one of the Lamborghinis. I think that was Rodriguez. It was a lot of front end damage. We're going to roll this one back. So this is coming up to sunset here. And I think Rasco, oh, that wasn't even intentional. That was just I think he might have just gotten offline a little bit. He didn't even run into him. It was just the rear left. And there's Frizza off the road. So Rodriguez, a huge bit of front-end damage. That's going to cause a lot of problems for him. But early on, it's okay. So, right now, Hutchinson coming around Cheetah. The pit window opens. This is, or no, he went around Crocodile, excuse me. Goes around Cheetah. Pit window has opened. And I don't think he was on the wet tire. No, I think he is. Unless I'm mistaken. Yes, he's on the wet tire, so he's going to stay out. Landry goes into the pit lane. He's done with this. Behind him, it's going to be Paul Britt deciding that he's had enough. And behind that, it's going to be Rasco. Hunter Page goes in. Alan MacGyver. We have one of the McLarens, I believe, off on the side of the road. I didn't see who that was. I don't think that was Zampati. Although it was Carpenter. If I had to bet on it, probably Cheetah taking a little bit of that. We've got Landry, Britt, Rasco, Page, McIver, Hall, Rodriguez, Perez, Frizza, Andreasen, Rodriguez, Hernandez, Santos, Good in the pit lane. Sanchez and Parity just coming out of the pit lane now. And a lot of these front runners, 1st to 15th, have not pitted. Some of them are on wets, some of them are on slicks. They've decided that they do not want to go in just yet. A yellow flag is out on circuit. The 42 in the grass. That is Kevin Parity, and someone else is going off as well at, I believe, Barbecue, the 255. I didn't quite see who that was. But what I do see is Sanchez coming in. You might say he was just in the pit lane. Yeah, but that pit stop did not count. He came in before the window opened, so it doesn't really matter. So this race start has already been a massive kerfuffle for everybody to deal with. And again, that rain is coming in probably about 20 minutes. So we'll see probably another round of pit stops. Here you can see all the ones. So for some of these drivers, the gamble to stay on slicks could be paying off. But you wonder, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it just keeps raining. And for these drivers, it just stays. Clifford's in. Keogh is in. Thompson's in. Sanchez is in. And Hutchinson's staying out. This is a very brave strategy. To be on wets, which we can confirm, he is still on wet tires. And you can see the dry line. The track is greasy, but that doesn't really have that much of an effect on the tires. So we should be seeing him pull onto those wet patches to just cool the tires off. Try to keep some grip. Edson Mike comes in for that first pit stop. I want to see Hutchinson, despite what I've been led to believe, Porsche seems to be gripping the track nicely. Not a lot of wheel spin. Down mine shaft. I will be amazed if he stays on these tires until the rain comes, but that would be absolutely ridiculous. I don't think that's going to be possible. There's one of the McLarens getting a little bit wide there. So Hutchinson, do you come in? Yes, he does. He's calling it quits. He's throwing in the towel on these tires. Does not want to stick on them. Loverink mirrors that, goes in. Now, does Portis do the same? I don't think. No, he's not on dries either. He's not on those slick tires. There's Brown behind, and both of them go in. Got to be careful. A little bit of contact, but that's okay. They both make it in. No harm, no foul. Lanham will inherit the lead of the race because he is on dries. So Lanham reading the weather pretty well. So he'll be able to open up a gap. That leaves Zampati. We'll check. We'll see on slicks. Same with Carpenter. And Flores is on wets. Should be coming in here in just a little bit of time. We're going to join Frizza right now, who is in position 20. Ahead of him is Keshawn Hall as we come to the top of the circuit. And then down we go just behind Andrew Wilson and Felipe Rodriguez battling for position 21. So this strange weather pattern and all of these pit stops have really completely randomized this race. Brown picking up a drive-through penalty. I don't think he's gotten those for track limits, not this early in the race. Although stranger things have happened. This seems to be where the big battle is currently going on. Perez right now ahead of Andreasen, who does pick up fastest lap. Andreasen, that 143.105. I don't think it'll be long for this world, especially because Hutchinson is now on circuit with dry tires. They will be under pressured a little bit. They will be under operating temp, but give it a couple laps and we should be seeing that purple go way up the grid. Hall has to stay vigilant. The cars behind, the pressure certainly there, runs very wide. Over the curb, always a little bit of a clinch moment, because you never know. Sometimes you just get it ever so slightly wrong and you're off. The chicane here, also another spot. Those curbs on the inside of the corners, deceptively tall. It is not uncommon to see someone go over those, spin out, and now they're at the back. But there's been a lot of practice from these guys, so I don't think we'll be seeing a lot of those instances, ideally, of course. Anything set to happen. Still 58.5 minutes to go here for round number 4 of the Simrigs Sprint Series down here in Kyalami. We are still blessing the rains down in Africa. We're not done with them just yet. But Brown comes in to serve the drive-through. Flores coming in for a new set of tires through Cheetah. Wilson had to be a little bit vigilant of that. And looks down the inside here of Frizza at the final corner for position 20. It's going to be a drag race right now up the start-finish straight through the turn 1, quote-unquote, of course. Not really a turn, but close enough. And that has not stuck. But the inside, Rodriguez looks at it, decides to back out, not close enough. So with these three going at it, that does give Hall a chance as Frizza completely overshoots the braking point. That does give Wilson a chance to just slip up the inside. And I was about to say the position was not given away just yet. Rodriguez just has enough of a drive here at the barbecue down towards the little straight into Sunset, and he does get the job done. So one minor mistake from Frizza, it's 2 positions lost in effectively 1 corner. So that is a massive problem. Here's Carpenter inheriting the lead, Lanham into the pit lane. So it's just these two, Carpenter, Zampati, playing the mind game and staying on slicks, taking the hit early, saying, okay, it's going to be a rough start. Things are not going to go our way. That's fine. We know the rain's going to stop. We know the sun's going to come out. We're going to deal with this. We'll be rewarded later on, and that is exactly what has happened. Hutchinson has fastest lap, a 41.31. Do we see the 40? That's the question. He's only a few tenths off of it, so it is very possible. And of course, when these guys come in, it's going to be another switch. But I think for right now, they're just going to stretch this out. They really want to check that weather widget and see the rain's in 30. How much of it is actually coming in? We have the 42 around. That's Kevin Parody. That looks like a lot of damage as he comes down. He's on the curb. Ooh, okay, so not a lot of damage, actually. So he sat on the inside of that curb quite a lot. And I think maybe just got a little bit too eager on the throttle. And that's what did him in. So he's in the pit lane, teleports back. That's a lot of damage. I would be amazed if he is able to finish the race. That's a very early mistake to make. But for Parody, I think he's going to just tough it out. Continue going. Keshawn Hall still giving us a nice view of this race. Despite being down 16th, Andrew Wilson wants a piece of this pie. Doing what he can right now. We're going to hop back up for a minute. Ben Keogh and Michael Landry and Paul Britt. Not really close enough for him, but he is waiting. And speaking of... Okay, that was very close. Keogh... Okay, hold on. We got to see this from his point of view. Through Cheetah, just hops it. And then obviously the rear view mirror showing us currently where he's at. But for Paul Britt, that was full faith in physics. Sent it around the outside. I think it was a little late for the brain to actually process what was going on. But thankfully, it ended quite positively. Right now, Felipe Rodriguez dips out of position 18, goes to 19th. Look at the train we've got going. 5 cars. Andrew Wilson up the road a fair bit with Keshawn Hall as well. And whoa, Frizza, more problems. Another lap of him missing that braking point into turn 2. And he's going to lose 2 more points. So I don't think he's on wets. No, he's on dry. Maybe it's set up. Maybe he's distracted. I don't know what's going on. But the 74, not the race he wanted. So a lot of work needs to be done to get back up. Andrew Wilson is going for a move, gets it around the outside of Hall in the meantime. Made it look easy, and now he can start to pull away. So we'll see how much further up the grid he can work his way. Checking in, Hutchinson, P3, Zampati. Just open the track map here. Yeah, a long way up. So 14.2 seconds, not an impossible gap to overcome, especially for someone like that. So we'll see if and when he gets the lead, if maybe it's in the pit lane, maybe it's something else. Michael Santos, position 24. There's Tim Parkinson and Jaden Hernandez behind, side by side for the both of them. And it's going to continue to be side by side. And as I say that, not anymore. Down the hill. They plunge under the banner. Up towards Crocodile. You have all this space, and if you're me, you never get it right. But at least you're consistent, and that's what matters. But then it's up to Cheetah. Again, if you're in the Bentley, this corner is so much easier because the Bentley's driving seat is on the right side of the car. This is the one track that is the only useful part. The only useful circuit for the Bentley that has a clear advantage is Kyalami. Because you can look right at that curb and you know where it is every single time. And I'm not saying you can't do that with some of these other cars, but it just makes everything a lot easier. Plus, with how the Bentley handles curbs, it's fairly easy. Edson Mike, for a moment, I thought was going slow out of fuel, but that is not the case. Kesha and Hall right now with Andreasen looking for a move side by side through the chicane. I don't know how they got through that one in one piece, but they certainly made it happen. And now it is going to be Rodriguez who may have to go around the outside as the Aston Martin plants it on the inside. But he has to be careful because behind in the rear view, there's the Ferrari of Frizza. Can't quite whiz your way into the position. You got to get a little bit of elbows out. And behind there's the BMW of Brown. So this is a 4-man battle right now for position 18. And how is this going to go down? Well, who knows? We do have... Was that Andreasen that just went off? It was. But somehow slots back in ahead. Now losing some time here. Hall gets the drive out of the corner. So we'll re-inherit 17th. And you can see the Porsche of Rodriguez getting a very good slipstream into turn 2. Defensive line for the Ferrari. And beside them, it's the Porsche and the BMW there of Brown and Rodriguez. Rodriguez into the side of Andreasen somehow holds on to it. The prancing horse can't get away from this guy. Down to position 19, but that was deadly close. You can see Frizza left side of the car into sunset. They are going to go side by side down at the 2 Ferraris, leaving enough space to race. But Andreasen is definitely not done by any stretch of the imagination. Side by side still with the fellow Ferrari, the 2 Porsches behind. How is this one going to play out? The inside line for Frizza, then the outside line. And it will be Andreasen who comes out on top in that little scuffle. We check in here. Flores, number 11. A little bit later on the brakes, it's going to be a defensive line being pulled out there from Rodriguez. And Andreasen bolts away from the Ferrari. These 2 guys here, though, in the Porsches, what are they going to do? It's a little bit later on the brakes for Flores. Reeling him in. Gotta be careful, though, through Cheetah. Even following this close with full confidence in yourself and the other drivers can end in disaster. But they all know when to back out, when to just let bygones be bygones. It's a missed apex from the 994 of Rodriguez. Flores spins out, and the Argentinian gets away unscathed. What about Perez? Not even close to taking that position. And that battle is done. An unfortunate way to end it, but that is going to be the case. Jonathan Clifford now in a lot of trouble, as behind him is Loverink, who has been doing what he can to get around the Lamborghini. Looks for an inside dive down into Crocodiles. It is going to work, but on the outside, on the exit, it is going to be Clifford battling side by side through Cheetah. They touch, almost loses the bull, but grabs it by the horns, reminds the car who is truly in control. And Loverink up into position number 4. There's the BMW. That is a back marker. That is not a problem for Clifford. But man, that was a neat little side-by-side there. You almost never see that through Cheetah. Well, you do, but it almost never works. Zampati coming in. The skies darken. The clouds move in. The rain almost here. You wonder who goes for wets, who stays on slicks. It's only going to be 10 minutes, though. How much rain that actually is, don't know. Zampati, 30-second stop go. That's going to be for speeding in the pit lane. That'll get swapped around for a time penalty. So that will get served at the next pit stop. The only driver on the field right now who has not gone into the pit lane is Carpenter, unless there's someone further down that hasn't. Lanham has not gone into the pit lane. So his call early on has certainly paid dividends. Check in with Ben Keogh, and right behind, that's Braden Thompson. And the 144, currently leading in the silver class. Hunter Page down in 12th position, so not too much of a concern. But look at the clowns, they have moved in. Those bright, vibrant colors are gone. And now we just wait for the inevitable. But then you have to remember, if it's a light rain, the track will clear relatively quickly, especially with almost 30 cars going around it. That will wick the moisture away pretty much instantaneously. But Braden Thompson, despite being very close, has not done anything with that. Up ahead, I just missed that. It was Hernandez getting to grips with one of the back markers. Speaking of which, Santos, thank you. Ooh, Zampati's actually coming in, so it looks like that hasn't been switched over. So the number 69 has to sit there in the pit box for 30 seconds, and then we'll let him back out onto circuit. We'll let him continue to play. Andrew Wilson, Lionel Di Giovanni, side by side into turn number 2. Almost a touch there from both of them, but the Audi will lay claim to the inside part of the corners. Gonna defend it as best as he can. Out of it he goes and holds on. Here's the rain. The rain will start to fall and continue for the next 10 minutes. It will then taper off. So now, here's the question. Is it enough rain to justify wet tires? Or do you take the risk, do you deal with the rain, and you stay on slicks? That is one of the things they just do not teach you when it comes to sim racing. Austin Carpenter in the pit lane, which does promote Hutchinson into the lead. Not going to say I'm too surprised, but... So we have Carpenter in the pit, we have Perez in the pit, we have Parkinson in the pit. Perez has gone on to wets. Is that the right call? Is Parkinson going to go on to wets? And this will be the first of 2 stops. So even if the wet tires aren't the right choice, It's not really going to do all too much, and it is onto the wets for the Aston Martin. What about Carpenter? He's on wet tires as well. So the consensus looks to be wet weather tires, or it's going to be a problem because the rain is going to increase. The track will be wet longer. Yep, we're going to see another active pit lane. Flores comes in to change. And then how quickly does the racing surface get back to dry conditions? Because if it happens too late, or rather too early, then what's the point of going onto the wets if it's going to be cleared instantly? But if it takes long enough, we may have some drivers have enough time to actually go to the end on wet tires. The Giovanni was loose, was a little bit wide there, a little bit of understeer. Spencer Brown's going to give us a very nice overview of these two. Wilson tries to take advantage, but he's not really close enough. A bit of a wiggle there for the BMW. Spencer Brown keeps it neat, keeps it tucked away. Up the hill, is he going to look down the inside? No, he's not. Wilson could be looking down the inside here. Into Mineshaft, very close there from the BMW. Almost losing it, he's sideways. Whew, full lock on the steering from that one. That was a little bit close. So these wet conditions are definitely proving to be quite treacherous already. The track surface is damp, but realistically it's going to feel like being on ice out there, especially through Cheetah. It's already dangerous enough. Why make it any more dangerous? The Audi goes into the pit lane. Spencer Brown diving down the inside on Andrew Wilson. Is the job done? I don't think so. As we head down, you can see the BMW trying to keep up with the McLaren. It's able to do that barely. I don't think there's even much of a side draft to really speak of in these GT3s into turn number 2. Brown, though, does have the inside line. Out of the corner they go. Andrew Wilson, a little bit of loose rear tires. Gets it held down. Carries on, but he has to carry on in 15th position. Giovanni, Frizza, Hall, Rodriguez, Perez, all in the pit lane for wet tires. Paul Britt right now getting around a back marker, eyeing up Landry. So we'll see. Hutchinson staying out, doesn't want to come in. We'll see what Loverink's call is. It's going to be the exact same. Jonathan Clifford gonna bank on the weather being nice to him. Michael Landry runs wide at Cheetah, but that's okay. Better to run a little bit wide than to die entirely. Paul Britt, he'll be staying out. So the rain will decrease in 10 minutes. So, I mean, they're on slicks. You pull up the basic HUD. There we go. Yeah, he's on slicks. So this track is going to be very tricky. Now there's one of the Porsches. I believe that's Flores. Yeah, that is Flores. On wets. Oh, God, you can see how much that McLaren's sliding around. Ben Keogh's gone into the pit lane. This will be his last stop. At least that has to be served. I don't know if he'll do another one. Andrew Wilson, in the meantime, has gotten around Spencer Brown back into position 14 for him. And out of the final corner, he's already opened up a pretty good gap. It's only a few tenths, but as long as the BMW doesn't go for a late lunge, but he's going to do just that. Spencer Brown, another classic late move from him. Now it's side by side. Back to single file. A little bit of a switchback for both of these guys on each other. Very loose there for the BMW. Andrew Wilson going to look for a straighter exit, but it hasn't worked. He's honestly just hurt his chances. So Brown stays ahead. Oh, Sunset is so tricky. Both of these guys are struggling. You can hear the tires just spinning as he gets on the gas. Hutchinson comes in. Loverink comes into the pit lane. They want some new tires. There's the 994 of Rodriguez letting Braden Thompson through. Landry comes in. Paul Britt stays out. This is a very questionable call if he's going to stay on slicks the whole time. There's Braden Thompson. He's had enough. Portis stays out. Rasco staying out. Hunter Page, another driver who's on dries. Through Cheetah, very wide there. And, Hunter Page when it was Alan McIver, excuse me. They swapped places when I went to click to switch to him. So, Hunter Page comes in. Alan McIver stays out. Austin Carpenter, because of that mistake, will inherit 6th position. Paul Britt sticking with one of the back markers right now. Hutchinson coming out in P7. Actually, right into the battle right now for 6th, and just immediately scoots on by McIver. Says thank you very, by McIver says thank you very much. I've had enough of you. So if you excuse me, I'm now going to hunt down Brian Rasco, and I may not have to work for that meal all too much, but still has to be careful. The ever-changing conditions, keeping things on a knife's edge. Down Sunset, Brian Rasco, doing what he does best. But he may... Or Austin Carpenter, excuse me, I don't know why I was thinking Rasco. Austin Carpenter is the one that has to keep himself fully focused right now, because Hutchison is just chasing him down. Oh, a little bit of wheel spin there. Wilson. Looks like it was Landry that got around. Yes, he did. So Landry inherits P11. Wilson, of course, yep, still on dries. So he'll most likely be coming in. Next lap. Let's go down the grid a little bit. Here's Zampati. Currently still out there on slicks. You can barely see the yellow blur there of those Pirelli P0s. So he does get around the Lexus of Edson Mike, the only Lexus on the grid, so of course he is the best Lexus out there. So congrats to winning the Lexus Cup. Always great to see. I want to check back in. Hutchinson. Extremely close to Carpenter now, a lot closer than he was before, and he's going to have an advantage. Doesn't have to have that far of a brake marker. Brian Rasco as well is struggling out there. Yeah, you can hear he's just lifting so much. As is these two drivers. It's going to be it's a three-way right now, three-way fight, as it's actually going to be Hutchinson taking full advantage of those wet tires. 3 wide around the outside. Does pick up 4th. And Rasco, 2 positions, 1 corner. It's like what we saw with Frizza earlier on in the race. And Ben Keogh diving to the inside here of Spencer Brown at the final corner. More side-by-side action as we head over... Or no, sorry, this isn't the final corner. Excuse me, this is up to Barbecue. And down towards Sunset, and the McLaren gets the job done. So Ben Keogh's in 11th, Spencer Brown 12th on those slicks. And you can see, yeah, he's off track. He's really struggling to find anything. Zampati, Frizza, the battle for 18th across the line, over into turn number 1. Even though it's not a turn, I will always be upset about that. Into turn 2, it does go the way of Frizza onto the curb. A little bit of a wiggle there for the Ferrari, but nothing he can't handle. Zampati loses it and goes into the Aether. Able to Ender Pearl back to safety, it looks like, but God, that back end. So we'll look at this again from the heli cam. He just gets a little bit too much. Of course, Game doing what Game does best, showing us exactly what happened. Realistically, he ping-ponged off the wall and rejoined the circuit. That is going to be some rough front-end damage. Andreasen, and I believe that's Braden Thompson. It is. That's for position 14. Andreasen on slicks. Hernandez with a 30-second stop go. We have Sanchez in the pit lane. That rain's still coming down. Should be lessening in 10 minutes. And then after that, we should be all set. I wouldn't be surprised if we still have a wet track, or at the very least a damp track by the end of this. These cars can only clear so much water. And we have lost a few. We've lost, I think, 6 drivers this evening. Parity being one of them. His start was, well, to say the least, not the best. Saying he was going to be 3 laps down. That's not how you want to start a race, so he decided it was enough. Right now, it is Braden Thompson on the charge, side by side with Andrew Wilson. I think as I say that, yeah, there's the job done. No problems there. And now he looks ahead. There's Spencer Brown. What can the BMW do up the hill? And, well, the big answer there is not a lot, because the drive is going to be there for the Lamborghini. The job's done before the corner even gets to them. So those wets for Braden Thompson coming in clutch here, as the 2 cars he has just gotten around do not have any tread to speak of. There's the 502 BMW onto the grass, bounding all over the place. That's Larry Lanham doing a little bit of off-roading. BMW never really struck me as a rally car, but maybe there's times changing. Could be wrong. Clifford in the lead for the time being. Britt is in second place, and Hutchinson is on the prowl for more. And unfortunately, Kangaroo is on the menu. Canadians, I don't think, known for eating kangaroos, but why not? Broaden the palate a little bit, and you can see just how much problem, or how much this wet circuit's just not working for Britt at all. He can't even contest this position. Hutchinson right around him, no defense, pretty much just opened the door and said, "Come on in. A guest here is a guest I take care of." So now Hutchinson, 15.8 seconds up to Clifford. Now, if Clifford comes in, that will be the race lead given over. He is on dry, so I think the rain stops in 10 minutes. Clifford may hold out on this one. I don't think we're going to be seeing him come in. Hold on. What we got to look at right now is a 4-way battle right now. Sorry, it's Larry Lanham, so it's not really a 4-way battle, but because of that ill-placed BMW, that gives Hunter Page, ooh, a little jump there over the curb. Hunter Page gets a free position without even asking. Andrew Wilson completely misses the break point. Spencer Brown pushes through. Christian Andreasen pushes through as well. I don't believe Giovanni's close enough. No, he's not. So 3 positions. Andreasen completely sideways. Locks the steering to the right. Little Tokyo drift action there. Keeps it going. Keeps it out of the wall. That is slick tires on a wet track. No series of pirouettes like we have seen from an Audi at Misano one time. If you know what I'm talking about, then, well, you can see that. But thankfully not the same case for Andreas. And that was a very tense moment there. We're going to check back in here with Hall. I haven't seen Hall in quite a while. There's Zampati just in front of them. Oh, has to let off. Had the run, but just a little bit too close. And it's Zampati sideways, one way to the other, and Hall just slips on by. Absolutely nothing to worry about there. Handed to him free of charge. Oh, you can see some front end damage on the McLaren, as it is going to be Clifford that comes through there. So Keshawn Hall will have to let these guys through at some point, and we do see Felipe Rodriguez with Zampati side by side. Another little drag race down the front straight into turn number 1. I don't think there's going to be any contest from Zampati. Nope. Just going to let the Porsche through. Is not going to challenge this whatsoever. It's not worth his time. It is not worth the effort. Now we check in with Hutchinson, who is just about 7 seconds back from Clifford. That gap has gone down tremendously over the last handful of laps. We'll see what it is here. It was 6.9. Now it's 5.5. Those wet tires, exactly what the doctor ordered. And you do see a little battle there. So Rodriguez goes through. Clifford can't do anything. He's on slicks. He knows he's slower. So for Hutchinson, the number of drivers to get around is now to 1. And he's within eye shot. There's the blue Lamborghini. There's the McLaren there. Wilson, he's going to have to let this guy through. Oh, through Crockett. That was a lift, and there's Wilson off the road. And now, there is nobody sitting between Hutchinson and Clifford. A very awkward line there from the Porsche. As we head into Cheetah, it's done well by both of them. So even with slicks, Clifford is still putting up some pretty solid times. As I say that, he is shaky on exit. And that should give the lead over. That lap, that last lap from Clifford, 7 seconds. But of course, that was from some shenaniganery that happened. Hutchinson fires it down the inside. And there's the lead going back to the Canadian. Hutchinson on track to win 4 races in a row. He won the season opener. He did back-to-back at Hungaroring, and he's looking to do the same here at South Africa. Will we see that in Germany? 5 wins, half the season. Or no, not half the season, sorry, just a little under half the races that season. Going to 1 driver, and keep in mind, again, he is in the lead for points, 324. So he is going to be getting a very sizable amount of points because Loverink is in 4th, Clifford's in 2nd. Now, if the positions stay, and I highly doubt it, we could be seeing Clifford at the very least closing up. I don't think he has enough to overtake, barring some absolute disastrous series of events for Loverink. But that should not be the case. Here's Alan MacGyver. Hunter Page throws it around the outside. Absolutely no problems there. And just behind one of the BMWs, I believe that's Lanham. I could be wrong. The 502, that is. So, MacGyver, another driver still on dry tires. So this is... We've seen some gambles. They're not paying off all too well. Frizza gets around Giovanni for 15th, both on wets. So for those that stuck around, we'll have 1 pit stop. Everybody else is going to have to do an extra stop by the end of this. Depending on how fast the track dries. If there's enough moisture to keep those tires on target, maybe then and only then do we actually have someone saying, okay, whatever, I can stay on it. Landry, hold on. Landry down the inside of Paul Britt. The Australian, nothing he can do. And check it out. Ben Keogh also looking for some kangaroo. And he is going to get the better exit. He's got the wet tires. He's got the drive. And side by side. Is this going to be side by side through sunset? This is going to be very questionable, but Britt thinks better of it. Does not want anything to do with that. Realizes what's going to happen. And he is all set. Brian Rasco now has to get around one of the backmarker Lamborghinis. Not quite certain who that is, but what I do know right now is the 144. So that's Braden Thompson. Oh, wait, hold on. Braden Thompson's in this. I completely forgot about him. I thought it was someone else. Side by side around the outside. Kenneth Portis is on slicks, so there is absolutely zero he can do here. Rasco also on slick tires. So, oh, and there's Hunter Page. Ooh, hold on. The number 6 could be picking up some free positions. Because look at Portis, look at Rasco. They're so slow in these corners. There's absolutely zero water being cleared. We have a yellow out. I didn't quite see. That's the 321 that was off circuit. That was Chris Good. The race being anything but. The rain has stopped. 23.5 minutes to go. And the heavens have decided that this is enough for them. There's nothing that needs to be done. The 52. Hold on, what the see? Hunter Page, not just one dive, but 2 down the inside. That ain't gonna work. Thankfully, doesn't hit a single person. Loverink was off track, I think, with Landry, but Hunter Page, that was a little terrifying. Got down one, tried to go down the other, was going over the curb. Somehow dodging both, but is right back in the fight. Has not let that deter him in the slightest. Looking to go around the outside here. That's one position gained. And now it's going to be Kenneth Portis that he's going to line up. This will be for position number 9 in the race. What can Portis do? Besides lay there and take it, he goes defensive. Lamborghini looking around the outside. Does the drive exist there as we exit the turn? I don't think so, but it does. Ooh, a little bit sideways for the number 6, but it is locked down neat and tidy. Wrap it with a bow and send it on over. Hunter Page, 9th position. Spencer Brown's in the pit. That's going to be the last stop. We'll see what Brown decides to go with. Actually, see right now, I think has gone onto those slicks. And Potty's coming into the pit lane. So, ooh, this is gonna cause a lot of chaos, I think. There's Portis. He is just gonna let on Larry Lanham. He knows he's being blue flagged. Drivers, there have been times where blue flags are faster than the car ahead, and or rather the car ahead, and they'll say, go over the mic, say, hey, is it okay if I go through, and a little bit of driver-to-driver discussion, and that's why you see Larry Lanham being let go. Here's Wilson with Flores, who has gotten around him. Wilson still on those slicks. Hasn't come in for the longest time. McIver goes into the pit lane. You've got Giovanni there. I think we just saw Frizza for a second. No, Frizza's right there. Oh, Giovanni completely misses that break point. Has to go off the circuit. That wet track proving to be quite a challenge. MacGyver is on slicks. I think that might be it for him. I think he's going to go on to wets, but I don't know if that's the call. That's a very interesting call. Either way, it's Sanchez, it's Wilson, side by side, turn number 2. It is going to belong to the Mexican driver. Number 21 pushes on through. No questions asked. I was about to say that for a moment he might have overshot it a little bit, but I've been proven wrong once again. So is the life of a commentator. There is Santos letting the number 28 Audi go through. 28, of course, being driven by Ariel Perez, who finds herself in the back of this race, down in 28th. But again, I assume some more of the driver-to-driver discussion. As I say that, blue flags come out. Just going to let everybody through. There's Edson Mike in the Lexus, who's running in position 25. There's Jonathan Clifford pulling up to the scene. Paul Britt's in the pit lane. final stop of the evening, 14 minutes, and then some change for the pit stop. 19 and a half to go. In goes Rasco. Portis staying out on those tries. He is really making these tries work far more than he would have liked. Now, checking with Hutchinson. Nope, that's not... I mean, I do need help, but not like that. Thank you. Hutchinson on the wets. So, if this track dries too quickly, he's going to have to come in. That's going to be the problem. He does have to come in again if this track gets anywhere close to being undrivable for wets. Andreasen, there's Giovanni. What's it going to look like? It's going to be a slipstream, trying to slingshot. Maybe he pulled out of it a little too soon, but it's too late to go back into it. He is sitting on the wet line right now into turn number 1. Late on the brakes, firing down the inside. Andreasen tries to mount a response, but just can't. Those wet tires doing wonders. And there's Andrew Wilson up ahead, another driver who is on the slick tire. I've said that word so many times, it doesn't even sound like a word anymore. Giovanni sitting on the inside. Ooh, little sideways for both of them. And there's Hutchinson having to get through some traffic, and he does it beautifully. And just up ahead, that's Paul Britt from Australia. Good day to him. Hopefully ready to pop a classic Australian beverage of the VB long neck. I don't think it's 20 to 8 in the morning for him, but I could be wrong. Those time zones always throw me off. I know that England is 4, and I know European Standard is 6. That's all I care about. Right now, we do have this battle for 4th position. Skylar Loverink breathing down the neck here of Jonathan Clifford. Oh, Loverink. All the drive of the wets, but just not the time for it. Clifford still on the slicks, down the inside. Loverink goes. Not going to be much of a fight being put up from the 999. He knows what's going to happen. He knows it was coming. And the problem is he's got a couple more McLarens who have something to say about it. Check around. There is Flore Sanchez. Oh, I thought it was Britt for a second. Who was there? So there's Hutchinson. He's going to have to get through. So we've got some... oh, hold on. We've got one of the McLarens off. I didn't see who that was. I don't think that was Chris Good. I don't think it was Santos. It was Santos. So we'll roll this one back on the inside. And then... Yep, just dips onto the grass. We saw this in EU. This spot especially. Coming down Mineshaft, going towards Crocodile. Obviously the racing line, you want to stick to the inside as much as possible. But strangely enough, that's sort of a dangerous spot to be as we see Paul Britt spinning out. What has happened here? Could this have been an assisted incident? Very late braking there from the Audi. I didn't quite see who that was. Oh, it was Giovanni. That is definitely going to draw the ire of the stewards. Thankfully, though, Paul Britt only losing... never mind, he lost a lot of positions. Down into position 18 from 13. That didn't look malicious. Just a late break, maybe a quick break in focus. Michael Landry on the inside there of Jonathan Clifford. Nothing that can be done. Ben Keogh lining it up. Oh, he's just a quick snap of oversteer. A little correction there. And Jonathan Clifford, again, just has to step out. He is really banking on this circuit going dry in the next 9 minutes and 50 seconds. That might not be the call, but Ben Keogh comes into the pit lane. He's getting rid of the wets. He's going to try to play weather forecaster. Or I guess track surface caster. Doesn't have the same ring to it. Keshawn Hall. Behind Andreasen. The Ferrari still has yet to pit. Hall really playing it safe here. Very low on the gear. Oh, and still low on the gear. Finally downshifting. That felt like it was going to take forever. I think he had a glimmer of a run there, but it just wasn't going to work. Ran out of space, ran out of time, and has to just fall back into place. Here is Michael Santos with Edson Mike. Let's ride up with the Lexus. I feel like we don't hear the Lexus all too much. So let's just take a moment to appreciate it. Great sounding car, honestly. One of the best sounding cars here in ACC. I don't drive it myself, but I always appreciate it. So Edson Mike down here, position 24. There's Hall getting around Andreasen, who just now goes into the pit lane. So that is enough of that. Felipe Rodriguez does have Paul Britt in his rear view. So Britt's gone around 2 in the meantime. And the sun comes out. It is going to peak. You can see the shadows. Let's look at it from the dash. The skies are clearing. The track is damp. And for some, this might be the godsend. Jonathan Clifford. The sun could not have shown itself any better. So we'll see if he goes on to slicks, if he goes on to wets, that's going to be a massive problem. 27 cars. We've lost 8. My math is to be believed. I could be wrong. Oh, that's why I'm a communications major. Thank you very much. But 8 cars, but still a very good number of them can clear the circuit of water relatively quickly. So for anybody who is still on wets, they see the track stamp, they are going to hope that, well, the track doesn't dry enough by the end, because if they do, and they haven't swapped, they could be falling way down the grid. Now, one person I want to keep an eye on is Hutchinson. Is he still on wets? Where is Clifford? Is he... There's no way he's on wets. He's on dries. This might be the biggest brain play of Clifford's life. This might be a free top 5. Same with Carpenter. Carpenter is on wets. He might come in this lap, maybe next. Just holding off. So it's Carpenter, Portis, and I think it's just Parkinson, the only drivers that haven't pitted. Oh, and Lanham. So those 4 drivers have still yet to clear that final stop. And that call might be what gets them a better result. Maybe they forgot about it. That's what happens. Sometimes if I have a mandatory stop and it's like 2, it's like, oh, I forgot to go in. Oh, what perfect timing. The track is now drying or going wet or whatever the case may be. Perfect. So we get that done. Hutchinson, that's the guy to watch. If he's timed this any better, he could possibly get away with a pit stop. It's a 21-second gap to Carpenter, who still has to come in, and then it's about 30 to Loverink. But he'll have to come in. Same with Landry, same with Thompson, same with Page, Keogh. So, oh yeah, you can see Hutchinson. He dipped onto the wet line. Those tires, the temperatures are going up. So they're not going to be grabbing the track as much. As we talked about earlier, is that if the track gets to a point where that wet line goes away too much, you're going to see drivers just sidestep offline to keep the temps down. And Hutchinson is gunning for this set to go for as long as humanly possible. There is Portis in the pit lane. Perez in the pit lane as well. That's an extra stop there for the Argentinian. Paul Britt, I think, was on. Yeah, he's on dries and he's cleared, so he's just got to make it to the end. Who else? Tim Parkinson is on dries, I believe. No, he's on wet, so he'll have to most likely come in this lap. I would be, yeah, the tires just, it's not there. The grip isn't there. The temperatures are too high and he stays out. This is a perfect time to go into the pit lane. Larry Lanham, side by side with Edson Mike right now. There's Santos just up ahead. So this is actually a battle for a position. I want to check with Edson Mike. Yes, I need help. That's not what I need. Thank you. On the wets there. And same with Santos. Larry Lanham. All three of these guys are on the wet tires. How many of them go in? None of them go in. Lanham's going to have to go in again before the end of this race. Same with Parkinson. Page is in the pit lane. This is going to be the swap onto dries. We had a yellow flag there. That is the 28 of Perez. This day has not gone well at all. Not the start. You want to have a big snap of oversteer. Thankfully, out of the wall into the gravel trap safely. Able to get that car turned around. This is a real kick in the head for the number 28, down in 27th position. This race has been tricky for just about everybody. Hutchinson stays out, is actually coming up to lap traffic, but the problem is the lap traffic is fighting each other. On the inside is Frizza. Flores trying to go around the outside. There's almost a touch there from the 74. But it's the 11 that comes out on top, and now Hutchinson is going to have to let these, or is going to have to get around these guys. The number 3 is off. The 77 is off. They were off a long time before this replay even happened. So not certain what happened there. I don't know what caused it. Definitely looks like contact. So they're all slow to get away. A lot of chaos here right at the end of the race. Carpenter is in the pit lane. Alright, so we've got a lot of blue flags being let through. There's Sanchez. And when Frizza lets Hutchinson through, he's going to make him work for it. He doesn't need to, but he's going to give him a little bit of a challenge to try to get it done side by side. And that should be the position gain, or sorry, not the position, but the car getting around. Sanchez, side by side down mineshaft, has to slot in, looks to the inside. Frizza very much on the outside. How that Ferrari has grip out there, I have no idea. But Sanchez able to just slip into the top 10. 6.5 minutes to go here. Jonathan Clifford still in 8th. I'm surprised. I thought he would be benefiting from this. Hunter Page is in 7th. Ben Keogh is 6th. It's Carpenter, Thompson, Landry, Lovrink, and Hutchinson. And Hutchinson still on wet tires. Is Flores on wets? They are. They're both on wets. And again, you can see that dry line, that lighter gray, and then all the dark around it. That's the wet stuff. That's what's keeping these guys from not losing it. Obviously a task easier said than done, and Sanchez on wets as well. He's in the exact same situation. So some drivers have benefited so far by staying on wets. Others haven't. Tim Parkinson has gone in. Larry Lanham, where is this guy? He has 36 seconds to get into the pit lane or he's going to cop a penalty. So let's see if he remembers. He is on wet, so keep in mind, if he doesn't come in, he's getting a penalty. I can't remember the last time I saw one. It wasn't recent, and I know that for a fact. So Larry Lanham, congratulations, sir. You have just picked up a penalty for not getting all of your mandatory stops cleared by the end of the pit window. Welcome to the OOR Hall of Fame. Perfect timing as he crosses the line. Pit window closes, and that will be applied at the end of the race. Unless for some reason the server settings dictate otherwise. That is it. We are in the final 5 minutes here at Kyalami. Sanchez around Flores quite handily. No problems there. Through Cheetah as well. It's done quite neatly. Down the gears they go. Through that final corner. Just a few laps remaining. Hutchinson, I think we're going to get 3 more out of this. Because he's running about 146s right now. Of course, not close to his fastest of a 1 minute 40.8, so we did see the 140s. He is just cruising along, doing his thing. Loverink is a lap down and has yet to start another lap, so we'll see what the gap is officially. There's Andrew Wilson right behind, so this distance, 31 seconds. We'll check in with Landry, who will come across, so it was 31, it's going to be about 38, probably closer to 40 at this point. Braden Thompson still out there, Austin Carpenter, Ben Keogh getting a little bit sideways. Hunter Page, okay, Jonathan Clifford now. The track has gone greasy. The conditions ever-changing here at Kyalami. The 502 of Lanham is off. Has gotten back onto circuit. The 2 Lamborghinis. Oh, Hunter Page. The grip, it's struggling. The track becoming too dry. The Canadian, though, getting out of it, using the wet line. There's Larry Lanham into the pit lane. I think it might be just a little bit too late for that pit stop, my friend. But maybe you know something I don't. And Hunter Page staying on the wet part of the track. Or, well, wet, quote-unquote, here. Because there really isn't much of a wet patch left to work with. Jonathan Clifford fires down the inside. And there's way too much heat going into the corner, but I think it's actually just barely enough. Side by side. But it is Clifford that wins out, goes up into 7th position. And now, Page fading into the background. So Larry Lanham onto dry tires. Probably very, very late there. I don't know if that's really worth it. Could be wrong. Brian Rasko with a couple of back markers to get around. Oh no, actually, hold on. This is a battle. Oh, it's actually a battle for 13. Excuse me. So it's Hall, Britt, and Rasko, the Australian, trying to find a little bit of drive around the outside. He might actually have it there, almost coming into contact with the Aston Martin, and again has to go around the outside. But the inside line will be commandeered there. And Rasko is now finding himself in a triangle that could go one of 2 ways. Down the inside goes one McLaren. Does the other one follow suit? He does, but he's not far enough ahead to get the job done. And there is going to be a little bit of a switchback for Rasko. Almost contact coming out of the corner, and he's going to have the inside line for the subsequent turn after that. Brian Rasko, beautifully done. Incredible job from him. And Paul Britt as well. Take a bow, both of you guys. Moving on up. Hall, of course, the big loser in all of that, but that is unfortunately how racing works. There's Loverank. Landry quite a ways back, so he's not even close. Hutchinson has started the final lap of this race. So Paul Britt just gets around both, doesn't look back. Rasko not getting the same sort of treatment. He is opening up a gap, of course, but it isn't the same. There's Edson Mike having to let these guys through, being blue flag, just parking it right on the apex. Rasko probably not going to be too pleased about that, but at the very least, the 77's out of his way. So not much he can really complain about there. Michael Landry, the pit lane on the last lap of the race because he has wet tires and the track is undrivable. How far down does he go? He's in 4th. He's going to lose out to Carpenter. I believe Keogh as well. Clifford, maybe Page. Sanchez, I very much be surprised. So we could be seeing Landry go all the way down to 8th position. This has been an absolutely chaotic race. My predictions have been all over the place. Some of them have been correct. Others, well, not so much. But that is just the nature of what we do. But the real man of the hour, Hutchinson, making it 4 wins in a row. Won the season opener, back-to-back then at the Hungaroring, and he's gonna add Kyalami to the trophy cabinet. The 726 extends his championship lead, and not only that, but he is expanding the amount of distance between himself in 2nd position. Skylar Loverink around here with 13 and 14th. Gonna let Rasco through. He doesn't really care. He's got 2nd place in the bag. The track just now going to fast. Sanchez comes home 9th. There's Flores, Frizza 10th, 11th. Giovanni goes 12th. Zampati in 21st position. Across the line, Paul Britt is 13th. Rasco is 14th. Skylar Loverink secures that 2nd place position. We're going to be seeing quite a lot of drivers further down the grid. Good in Santos, one of them, or a few of them rather. Here's Braden Thompson out of the final corner. He'll be finalizing himself 3rd step of the podium, but on top of silver. Hunter Page is 2nd place silver, and he's all the way down in 8th position. Here's Austin Carpenter just missing out on, on 3rd by a pretty hefty margin. It's going to be 14.5 seconds. Michael Landry, a little bit of a drift. Actually home in 5th. That's surprising. I thought he would have lost a lot more, but I guess I was wrong. Well, there you go. Can't predict anything. Jonathan Clifford, home through 6th. Behind him is going to be Ben Keogh. Jonathan, very happy about that. Doing a little bit of wiggling. Always good to see. There's Hunter Page in 8th position. Crosses the line. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us here at Kyalami. What a race it was, start to finish. It wasn't quite what we saw with EU all over the place with all that rain, but the changing conditions, of course, always a challenge for these drivers. So let's take a look at the timing sheet. Of course, Hutchinson on top, 36 seconds cleared of 2nd place. That is a ridiculous, insane, unimaginable, whatever adjective you choose for a win. And he's done this consistently. This is one of the best drivers in North America, period. Showing us exactly why that is. Loverink is 2nd. Thompson is 3rd. But top of the silver class, Carpenter, Landry make it into the top 5. For the Pro-Ams, it is Flores, Frizza, and Rodriguez, your top 3. Andreasen, Lanham. Lanham picking up 2 minutes and 10 seconds of penalties because of his his missed pit stop, rather. Brown as well, quite a ways down. Not the race he wanted. Parity and Wicks, of course, not really getting around at all. And Savard having some issues. For the amateurs, it is Good, Santos, Mike, your top 3. Parkinson, Doggins, Barnett, and Hernandez actually picking up a disqualification. Probably for that drive that didn't get served. You got 3 laps to serve it, didn't do that. And then the silvers, of course, Braden Thompson again on top, but Hunter Page home P2. Sanchez, 3rd for this new class of cars. Then it's Giovanni. A very great result for an opening race. Wilson, Zampati, Perez, and then Sanchez not making it. 2 drivers I do want to look at. Paul Britt home 13th, a good start for the Australian. They need to go down the grid, unfortunately, a fair bit of ways. Perez, 27th, but actually it was 9 cars that we lost. It was Parity, Rodriguez, Sanchez, Doggins, Barnett, Wicks, Savard, and Hernandez, Treister. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here at Kyalami. One quick final shout-out to Simrigs for sponsoring us here in the Sprint Series out of Melbourne, Australia. So for Paul Britt, probably in the backyard. I could be wrong. But all of Australia and New Zealand, you guys are looking at one of the best sim racing suppliers if you're looking to upgrade your rig. Maybe you got a birthday coming up, maybe an anniversary, you want to get that special somebody something nice. Well, Simrigs has got you covered. If you live outside of Australia and New Zealand, you just got to send him an email. Guarantee you that he'd be more than happy to do some business with you. And if you're an OR Patreon member, you guys are getting 5% off your in-store purchases, so do take advantage of that. This hobby is not cheap by any means. I have a wheel, I have a pedal set that'll tell you just that. But thank you to Simrigs, as always. Ladies and gentlemen, we're done here at Kyalami from South Africa. We're going to head over to Germany next time out. Hutchinson looking to make it 5 in a row. Will he do it? If this season is anything to go off of at the start, it's definitely in the cards, but anything can happen. And I should be back again next week with Charles and Simon over in EU. But on behalf of myself and everybody here at the OOR, I'd like to thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed your stay. If you're looking for a new sim racing home, we've got you covered. And I can give you my bottom dollar on that one. Well, ladies and gentlemen, until then, as always, stay safe, stay beautiful. We'll see you next time.